Will Levis is playing better. That's 3 straight games where Will Levis has looked like he could be the guy in 2025 for the Titans.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. One of my favorite days of the week. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday presented by DraftKings. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Those of you that check us out, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL or on the DK Network on a bunch of fast channels, you can see the helmets, the game balls behind you. Awesome temp job in my 20s a long time ago, but enables me to have a whole career now. Got a couple small businesses too, but a whole career now just talking about the football, which is amazing. We'll do the Even Money podcast today with Steve Fezzik. Believe it or not, that is the most popular show during the season in terms of the sheer volume of downloads we get every week. People like the fact that we have a lot of winning bets on the Even Money betting podcast. Emery Hunt is fantastic on the College Draft podcast. I don't know if we'll do it this week, but hopefully you guys have noticed that we've been dropping some of the other shows on some of the other feeds from time to time, just to try to introduce different viewers, different listeners in particular, to some of the other shows that are part of the network. I think John Daigle on the Fantasy Feast podcast is fantastic. We will have winners this week. If I can remember, because I'm the worst. I am literally the worst. Spread the word via social media. At Ross Tucker Pod is the key, or at Ross Tucker NFL. You can also just rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Forward that to me. Rate and review it, screenshot it, forward it, ross@rosstucker.com. You're pretty much guaranteed to be a winner. Love those of you that take advantage of any of our sponsors. Love sending you signed memorabilia. Pretty good chance everybody who I owe an autograph to, I'm going to be able to fulfill those this weekend. So be on the lookout. I'll let you know Monday if I actually got a chance to do all that or not. I get behind during football season. And then it's just always ross@rosstucker.com. Then the YouTube shout out. Love those YouTube comments after you subscribe. youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, the Ravens, they ran all over the Chargers in the Har Bowl, leading to a 30-23 Baltimore victory.
They really did. That was a fun game for a while until the Ravens started to pull away. The Monday Night Football recap, it's always presented by Labatt Blue Light, because that's what you should do while you're watching Monday Night Football. You should drink some delicious Labatt Blue Lights with friends, live life to the power of we, always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Okay. No Roquan Smith for the Ravens, which, by the way, it should be noted, I thought Malik Harrison stepped up in a major way in Roquan's absence and played pretty well. But it says a lot about the Ravens that they were able to win and really hold the Chargers to 16 points until kind of a garbage time touchdown late, which, by the way, was very helpful to the Even Money Betting podcast and the over late in that game. So I thought this was definitely a step in the right direction for Zach Orr and the Ravens defense, especially to do that without Roquan Smith. Here's what's crazy about the game, Jack. The Chargers had an awesome first drive. I don't even know if they got to a third down. It was just like bang, bang, boom. Herbert runs in for a touchdown, and you're thinking, oh boy. And then they even kicked the field goal in the next drive. They're up 10-0. So it looked like the Chargers were rolling in this one. Here's what happened, though. Late in the first half, J.K. Dobbins got hurt, and it was like the Chargers totally abandoned the run. I think they might have had like 4 carries after that. Look, Gus Edwards is a pretty good back. Now, J.K. Dobbins was running very effectively, and that's a major injury for the Chargers if he's out any extended period of time. Remember, he's had a series of very unfortunate injuries in his career. Really, really frustrating. And heartbreaking when you know how hard he works and what he's trying to do for his family and all those things. But that would be a big, big loss. Now, the flip side is the Ravens' pass defense had been so bad, so I guess I understand why Greg Roman wanted to attack it. But they just don't really have the receivers to do it. I mean, Ladd McConkey's pretty good, but how about Quentin Johnston with some drops, including one of the worst drops you'll ever see from a pro football player? The game totally flipped near the end of the first half. It was after the 2-minute warning. The Ravens are inside their own 20, and John, not Jim, John for the Ravens goes for it, 4th and 1, inside his own 20. I did not think that was a wise choice. It worked. They got the first down. They ended up getting a touchdown on a bomb from Lamar Jackson to Rashad Bateman. That does not – we got to remember everything. That does not mean that was a wise choice by John Harbaugh. I mean, the odds at that point are much more likely that the Chargers will get points out of that than the Ravens. It worked out for them, though. So that's all that matters in that game. The Ravens' run game then in the second half just kind of took over. Felt like Lamar Jackson didn't have to do that much, pounding the Chargers with Derrick Henry. Then Justice Hill breaks a long one as the Ravens pulled away 30-23. Really, really big win for Baltimore. They needed that bounce back after that Steelers loss and the way in which they lost a week ago. By the way, Jack, I don't know if you saw, I got a cool shout out from Chris Long on social media yesterday. He talked about me as a broadcaster on his game, on his show, which is awesome. I love when people feel like I'm teaching or they like what I'm doing. Speaking of teaching, by the way, have you ever tried to explain football to a little kid? It is not easy. It took me a while with my daughters. That's why I'm such a fan of Future Fan Sports, a new brand that helps little kids become big fans by embedding the rules of football into parallel games and activities. The two things I love about this, number one, the guys that invented this are listeners. Number two, if you remember in the summer, they've been on the show. Number three, they're dads. They did this because they know how hard it was to teach their kids about football. It's only $49.99. Go to futurefans.com, Ross, for a great Black Friday deal of 25% off. Lowest price of the season, and it'll be going back up, so do it now. That's futurefans.com/Ross. My friends at Smirnoff know there's no I in football. It's a we thing. Best enjoyed together. Good drinks, good folks. Smirnoff's the world's #1 vodka, an official vodka partner of the NFL. And we got the holidays coming up. More opportunities to watch football and make delicious Smirnoff cocktails. Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas. Smirnoff and the NFL are with you every step of the way. Make sure to drink responsibly. Take a minute. Make a plan. Never drive impaired. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
All right, we're going to start our power rankings with the New York Giants at 32.
Isn't that something? I mean, there were a couple moments earlier in the season where I thought they had a chance to be competitive. They were non-competitive in that game against the Bucs on Sunday. 30-0 in an NFL game almost never happens. Feels like that team, and I hope this isn't the case, and I hope they prove me wrong on Thursday, but it almost feels like the players are very frustrated with the organization and that they've almost quit on that organization. I know what Mara said earlier in the year about, he's not inclined to fire Daboll and Shane, but that would be a huge upset at this point if he doesn't.
31st, the Jaguars.
Had a bye, not much to say other than, number one, it sounds like Trevor Lawrence might be able to play. And number two, Doug Peterson said they made staff changes during the bye, but he wouldn't reveal what they were, which makes sense. Like if you change the O coordinator or D coordinator, who's calling the plays, you don't really want the opponent to know that. And by the way, You don't have to announce it, so why would you? I'm on board with Doug EP on that one.
Team out of the Daniel Jones sweepstakes, the Raiders at 30.
Thought that was interesting. They supposedly wanted Daniel Jones. It seems like a good place where Daniel Jones could have started a bunch of games the rest of this year. I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick made a really good point. You know, he's already getting his salary for the year from the Giants, right? Termination pay. So why be in a rush to sign anywhere? You know, he could just take the rest of the season off and stay healthy and gear up for, you know, the offseason and picking his team then. It's a really, really interesting situation that he's in. And evidently, going to the Raiders, getting beat up, playing maybe poorly. The flip side is, I guess he could enhance his stock if he went to the Raiders and played really well and turned things around. They won some games. I don't know.
29th, New York Jets.
Jeff Wolberg says Aaron Rodgers good to go. Aaron Rodgers will start this week. I almost feel like I got to stop saying it, but we will see one way or the other whether or not Aaron Rodgers plays in every game the rest of the season for the Jets. I, Ross Tucker, on my own podcast, stating it here, will have immense respect for him if he does. I would still, if I had to bet on it, I would bet that he does not.
28th, New England Patriots.
Gerard Mayo said it, and I think I said it yesterday. I don't think I have to say it again. That was a step back. That was a step back for New England to get humbled in that way at home. No, that game was in Miami, I think. But at any rate, to get humbled like that by the Dolphins, that was really poor. That was surprising. The Patriots had really started to have some momentum. They had been competitive week in and week out for about a month, and they totally laid an egg. That was unexpected. I was not expecting that.
27th is the Dallas Cowboys.
You know, I only moved them up one spot because these other teams, you know, a lot of these other teams won games as well and looked pretty impressive. The Cowboys, it's a big win though over a 7-4 Commanders team that all of a sudden is like reeling. You know, they lose those 3 games, the Steelers, the Eagles, now the Cowboys. The Commanders are kind of, they need to get the train, they need to take command and get the train back on the tracks.
26 is the Cleveland Browns.
Moved up several spots after that impressive home win over the Steelers. It's kind of the way the AFC North rolls, kind of the way the Browns roll. I mean, they only have 3 wins, but 2 of them are over 2 of the teams in the top 7 of my power rankings, the Steelers and the Ravens. That's the NFL for you. That's the Cleveland Browns. And I think that says something, quite frankly, about Kevin Stefanski.
25th, the Tennessee Titans.
Yep, and guess what? They moved up, 5 spots, Jack?
Correct.
My biggest upgrade this week is the Tennessee Titans, moving up 5 spots in my power rankings. Here's why. They are playing better, really on both sides of the ball, and in particular, Will Levis is playing better. That's 3 straight games where Will Levis has looked like he could be the guy in 2025 for the Titans. I'd like to see a little bit better pocket movement, not take some of those sacks. Obviously, the pick 6 was disappointing, but he made some huge plays for the Titans to win that game. I would say a step in the right direction again for Levis and the Titans. Upgrade your bathroom or entry door with West Shore Home. Get free installation plus 18 months, no interest, no payments when you visit westshorehome.com/Ross. By the way, Jack, before I forget, I just got a note. How about this? This Friday and Saturday only, if you have the team at West Shore Home out, they're offering an exclusive in-home discount that will ensure it's the largest savings they've offered this year. Only this Friday and Saturday, go to westshorehome.com/Ross to schedule your no obligation quote today. Then forward that to me, ross@rosstucker.com. You'll be the winner this week.
24th is the Bears.
The Bears. So it's funny because on some level, I didn't move them up or down, but on some level, it feels like the Bears Bears fans are getting what they want. Caleb Williams looks better. Looks like he might be good. There was some concern and consternation there for a little bit, but they're still losing, which means they'll get a new head coach, which I think most Bears fans would like at this point.
23rd, Carolina Panthers.
I can't believe the Panthers are 23rd. This is why it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and the whole season matters, and you just keep playing. I have the Carolina Panthers ahead of 8 other NFL teams. Guess what? They're 2-1 in their last 3, and their one loss, Patrick Mahomes needed to pull a Mahomes out of his helmet to get the win over Carolina. Kudos to Canales and Bryce Young for staying the course. I'm very anxious and excited to see how they finish the rest of the year.
22nd, Indianapolis Colts.
Kind of know who the Colts are at this point, which is a team that I'd be surprised if they make the playoffs. It feels like, man, you look at it though, in terms of that last wild card spot in the AFC, that's going to be interesting. I mean, the Broncos are just kind of rolling right now, which is nuts because the Dolphins are going to get to the end of this and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we didn't make it. Because they might just if they win out, they'll make it, but that's going to be hard to win out. Anyway, the Colts are not going to be a part of it, I don't think.
21st, LA Rams.
So the Rams, they have a very young defense. They need to get better on that side of the ball. I think, still need to get better on the offensive line. They've made some additions there, but that group still leaves something to be desired. They kind of got beat up by the Eagles up front, both sides of the ball, Jack.
20th, New Orleans Saints.
Saints had a bye, so not much to say other than very curious to see how they play coming out of the bye. They had 1-2 in a row. Rizball is alive and real with Darren Rizzi, their interim head coach. So we'll see. They're a team to keep an eye on.
19th, Cincinnati Bengals.
Just such a weird season. Just the weirdest to have the way their elite players are playing, but still be 4-7. They're not going to get back in this thing. It's just going to be too hard for them. It's hard to believe, not that they're out of it, but that they're out of it this early. I mean, they have 6 more games to play, and yet, look, if they win out 10-7, they're probably going. So they still have a shot, but it's really, really hard to win out.
18th, the Niners.
Man, this has got to be as low as they've been since we've been doing this show. 18th, the Niners. Now, sounds like Purdy might be able to play in the game Sunday night. I'll be there for Westwood 1 in the booth, calling that game on radio. Very much looking forward to it. It's like desperate times for the Niners. The best thing they've got going for them right now is their division. They're only a game out, even though what's their record? 5-6? Yet they're still only a game out. That's like what the teams like the Dolphins or the Bengals, they would love to be in the Niners situation right now.
17th, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So the Bucs, the Falcons are keeping them alive in the NFC South. That's the best thing the Bucs have going right now, is the Falcons refuse to pull away with this thing. They're only 1 game out.
Speaking of which, the Falcons, 16.
They had a bye, not much to say other than, man, they really limped into the bye, and they've allowed not only the Bucs, but on some level the Saints to kind of get back in this thing.
15th is the Houston Texans.
Very disappointing loss, right? They were coming off, they've had a bad loss to the Jets, then bad loss to the Lions. You get 5 picks and you still lose that game. Now it sounds like they're going to lose Jalen Petrie for at least a few weeks with a partially torn pec. Just a lot of bad going on for the Texans right now.
14th is the Seattle Seahawks.
Another gutsy win for that group. I was not expecting that. After the way they had won in dramatic fashion against the Niners, I wasn't expecting that mature, impressive win by Seattle at home. I mean, right now they are leading the NFC West. And Mike McDonald, I think, is proving he is a good coach. They're not there yet from a talent perspective, but they're a team to keep an eye on next year for sure.
13th is the Commanders.
They're falling fast. I mean, I had them at 5 for 3 weeks in a row. Then they dropped to 6, and then they dropped to 7. Then last week they were 10. Now they're, whatever they are, 13. They're going the wrong way. Do you know the movie, Jack?
Slipping my mind, whatever that quote's from.
Planes, Trains, Automobiles. Have you ever seen it?
I have seen that, yeah. John Candy.
Incredible movie. That's like a Thanksgiving movie. You should see it.
Yep. 12th, Arizona Cardinals.
I didn't downgrade them that much. You know, they had been rolling. Not a great game. You know, they lose. I don't know. I don't know if I feel like the Seahawks would beat them in a best of 7 on a neutral site right now. They got them in this game at home, but it kind of could have gone either way. Pick 6 changed everything.
Just a few months ago, this team was 32. Now they are 11. Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, number 11. They are rolling. Such a shame. The Tua injury and then those 3 close losses in a row. Because they'd be a fun team in the AFC playoffs. I mean, right now, any team that would make the playoffs in the AFC, whether the last wild cards or the Chargers, Broncos, or Dolphins, they're like alive. Like they have a chance. They're frisky.
10th, Denver Broncos.
Broncos are frisky. They got a good defense. They got a rookie quarterback playing well. They believe he's mobile. And man, think about that. Being the 5th quarterback to go and to play this well. You never know. That's why you never know.
9th, LA Chargers.
San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Chargers. So we got to keep an eye on the Dobbins injury. That's a big one. And they're about what I thought they were. They're fun. You know, they're a playoff contender. They're not a legitimate AFC threat. Not this year. They're not up there with the big boys. Could they win a playoff game? Yeah, maybe, but not multiple playoff games.
8th is the Green Bay Packers.
Solid win. You know, they took care of business against an outmanned Niners team, but it's the way in which they did it. That was a major step, I thought, in the right direction for the Packers, something that they needed. Gives them a chance to kind of get back into the mix of being a team I think can actually do damage in the NFC playoffs.
7th is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Tough loss, especially when you couple that with the Ravens getting a big win on the road. It kind of jumbles things up a little bit more in the AFC North. Ravens and Steelers both have 8 wins. Steelers, though, only 3 losses. That's going to come down to that's going to come down to when those teams play against each other again. Although the Ravens have to play the Eagles on Sunday.
6th is the Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. I am floored that they really are this good, really this high. I mean, to be 9-2, and by the way, not leading their division at 9-2, which is brutal, but 9-2. Shout out to Darnold, Kevin O'Connell, the whole organization. It's super impressive for a team that I'll admit I thought they would be last in the NFC North.
5th, after last night, is the Baltimore Ravens.
They are who we thought they were. They've got a good team. I can't explain their inconsistencies at times. I can't explain how they lose some of the games they lose, the manner in which they lose. But it feels like when they are right, when things are going well, and probably from a talent perspective, that they are as good as any. Man, that game on Sunday against the Eagles is going to be awesome. 2 of the top 5 teams in my power rankings.
4th, Kansas City Chiefs.
Man, this is as low. Oh, I was going to say this is as low as they've been in a while, but they were probably lower than this actually last year with the way the season went last year and how poor they were playing for a while. I dropped them a spot even in the win. Their defense, that's 2 games in a row where their defense is showing that they're not the same without Jalen Watson. Something to very much keep an eye on moving forward for the Chiefs?
Third, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. Do you know where that comes from?
No.
That's amazing. So when I was playing for the Buffalo Bills, my wife's cousin, Luke, who's now like a 26-year-old man that works for the family propane business, Cuppy's Propane, Koppy apostrophe S. But because I played for the Bills when I was dating and married to Kara, my wife, when people would ask him who his favorite team was, he'd say, the Buffalo Bills. And just the way he said it was amazing. Now he's like a grown, this is like 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago. Wild. Anyway, they had a bye, so not much to say other than the boys are back. I'm coming back to town Sunday. Step up the press box game, press box food game, Bills. You know I'll be evaluating after that Texans showdown.
Second, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles, Eagles. You know, part of me, Jack, thinks that all the people that wanted Sirianni to be fired when the Eagles were 2-2, part of me thinks that they should not be able to watch the games. Like they should not be able to get the joy out of the Eagles and Saquon dominating and rolling. They wanted to fire the coach who's been in the playoffs all 3 years because they were 2-2 after 4 games. I mean, that's like an old ESPN. Come on, man.
Ross's number one team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
And number 1 is the Detroit Lions.
So the Lions, what's so impressive is I have a buddy that's a Lions fan that's worried they're going to have to outscore people and that the defense can't get it done. Guess what? The Lions were absolutely awesome on defense against the Colts. They've been getting better on that side of the ball, which is why I think they're still pretty clearly the number 1 team. Other than that, check out the other shows. Even Money today, Fantasy Feast tomorrow. You guys know the drill. Special guest tomorrow. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. If you have a loved one, in particular a grandparent, I can't highly recommend this enough. myfrontpagestory.com. As a reminder, I promise I will send you an autograph in the mail if you get a story for a loved one. myfrontpagestory.com. Backoffthescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.